Welcome to round 10 of PSGL F7. This week we are racing around a Suzuka Grand Prix where I'm still happily in the lead, looking to consolidate my position. Suzuka is a very harsh track on the tires, so expect high tire wear, but also due to the low number of overtaking opportunities, expect strategy to be the key deciding factor on track today. Into qualifying, we're going to jump directly on board with the second push lap of the session. DRS flaps wide open. Try to find a part of the track with least amount of bumps, minimal braking into turn 1. Be very brave back on the power. Careful with track limits on corner exit, and be very brave with that first curve, but don't take any for the following corners. Precision with steering and slight lifts here and there with the throttle is enough to make the car turn this year. Be brave, a little bit of overtake on exit, stay in a hot lap, coming up to Degner 1 now. Be very brave, it's a flat corner this year, and gently bleed off the brakes out of Degner 2. Very good exit. Now it's all about keeping momentum. Coming up towards the hairpin, brake a little bit after the end of the curb. Maintain momentum, be brave on the power, but don't lose the rear. It is a 2.5 tenths improvement before we head into Spoon. I know there's a lot of time that I can find here how brave I can be. Throw the car into the corner, minimal braking, and use the engine braking on the second portion of the corner. Be brave on the throttle, overtake, and now we will absolutely empty the tank down the back straight into 130R. Keep it pinned. That is going to be purple sector 2. Over 3 tenths gained. And through the final chicane, braking at exactly 100, a very tight line, good minimum speed, and don't invalidate, especially not after all the hard work we just put in. Across the line, it is going to be professional pull. Boom. And I am super proud of that lap. Very close to a personal best. On the third and final push lap, however, I run a little wide out of Degner 2, and I lose the rear under braking into the left-hander, and that is going to be a game over. And a lot of people improved, which really surprised me, and that is going to mean that we're going to start P4. However, since PSGL requires a mandatory lobby restart between qualifying and the race, we have no idea what to expect when it comes to the weather. And as it turns out, it is interconditions, but the track doesn't look that wet. However, hold that thought, because off the line, we're gonna get a mega start and blast past P4. Up to P3 we go off the line. Gonna leave some room around the outside, and I'm gonna keep a tight line through the S's now to close the door so that nobody thinks about sending it down the inside. We're treading unknown territories right now because nobody has driven in these conditions. Nobody's done any practice, and I have to adapt to these conditions fast. I have opted to go for a setup with slightly more downforce to help me in the wet, but also to help manage tire wear. But already the gears are turning. What is the strategy going to look like? Is it going to be to match the strategy of the front runners? Or is it to save tires as to create an offset? I don't have to ponder for long because we're going to get our answer right away. If you look at the tire wear, we're already up to about 6%, and that's before we even finish the first lap. The inters are absolutely burning up right now. The track is not dry enough for slicks, but it's also not wet enough for inters to be working properly. If the current trend continues, we're looking at a 3-stop race. P1 and P2 are battling super hard right now, and I'm happy to take advantage of the situation moving up to P1, but to me, it makes no difference whether I'm in P1, P2, or P3 right now. As long as I'm in a lead train, everything is good and dandy. I'm being very careful on corner exit as to protect my rear tires as much as possible. The tires are wearing at a rate of about 7 or 8% every lap, and this number is only going to increase exponentially as the wear increases because the car is going to be sliding more and more. And right away, I have jumped into maximum tire saving mode. I'm gonna let P1 and P2 fight, and I'm going to go for the overcut strategy so that I can have the best tires possible at the end of the race. On the straight, however, you can see that P1 is a position that is very wanted by everybody, and I decide against it. I decide to back out because going 3 wide on lap 4, no less, it's just not worth the risk. I want to protect my front wing, I want to protect my tires, and I'm happy to just follow along. By the end of lap 7, the tire differential is already showing, and the leaders are going to box this lap. They have no choice but to go in because their tire wear is just simply too high. And my tire indicator is yet to come on. So I am going to keep pushing to minimize the undercut, but also to extend the stint, sitting comfortably at 55% on the rear left. I'm going to try to pit a lap or two later so that I can have better tires at the end. On the next lap, however, the tire indicator comes on. And in case you didn't know, the first light comes on at 60% tire wear, and the second stage of the tire indicator comes on when you reach 70%. That's when the tire indicator becomes bright red. It's letting you know not to play with fire for too long, because if you reach 75%, because that's when you run into the risk of having a puncture at any moment. And it's been 2 laps now since the leaders have pitted. I am at 73%, and it is time to go into the pits. Barely stopping in time, we get a purple pit stop, and it's time to bolt on a fresh set of inters and see where we come out. On the pit exit, the leaders are long gone, and you'll see in a moment how big the undercut is. And it is absolutely crucial that we do not come out behind that train on old interrunners. However, unfortunate for our race, the Red Bull manages to inch ahead into turn 1, but he is already struggling on his inters. His tire wear must be through the roof already. Through Degner 2, under the track, I've gained so much through a single sector, and he goes wide here. I don't want to run into his back because my race is not against him, but this is allowing the leaders to create an even bigger gap, and it's not allowing me to use my fresh inters to their full capability. Through Spoon now, he slows down so much, and I don't understand where that came from. However, something incredible happens here. The Red Bull driver does a little wiggle, and he lets me go because he knows his race is not against me. And to that, I tip my hat, my friend. It's hammer time. Not even a full lap later, I've already created a 1-second gap to the Red Bull, and I am getting closer and closer to the leaders. By pitting 2 laps earlier, the leaders have created such a big gap, but their tires are only gonna burn up more and more. Bigger the undercut, bigger the tire drop off as well. And you'll see in a moment, just about 3 laps later, I've already gained about 4 seconds. The Williams is still hanging on to the back of the Aston Martin. However, in the wet, there's no DRS, so they cannot exchange DRS to gain any more time or regenerate more battery. And at the start of lap 16, I've already caught up to them, and it is already time for them to go back in. And I'm still on a pretty healthy set of intermediates, but this is when another problem strikes. The track is kind of dry now, and it has stopped raining. Initially, my engineer and I, we had decided to pit this lap, but since it's already drying up, is it even worth it? There's still 11 laps to go, but going on the wrong tires now could mean race over for me. And at the last second, I'm gonna decide to go for another lap because I want to see what kind of track evolution does the game have in store for us. And I'm gonna push my intermediate tires to the absolute limit. Diving into the pits at the end of lap 17, my tires are dead. And I've decided to go for the mediums because the track looks dry enough. However, better drivers than me have been caught off guard in the past, and I am not about to let that happen to me here. So I'm going to be very careful when I exit the pits. And the leader, the Williams driver, drives past, but however, he is on the intermediates, while the Aston has moved on to the mediums. That is the correct move, while the Williams, not so much, because he's going to have to box again for slicks, which means race over for him. And the conditions are just not ideal right now. It is a little drier than before, but it's so treacherous out there, and I almost lose the car coming out of Spoon, which makes me lose some crucial time to the leader. I want to see if I'm able to stay within this 3-second window here, but through Degner 2, I make a huge mistake. I lock up the front, and I go wide, and that is going to cost me 2 or 3 tenths again. With 8 laps to go, even though I have about 2 laps of tire advantage, remember, I am running a setup with a lot more downforce and all those drivers around me. And this is going to have a big impact on my top speed, but also my ERS regeneration. So in clean air, this is not going to help me. The pace in general is going to be slightly lower compared to a fully dry setup. But I'm still going to give it my all. I'm going to try my best to stay within that 3-second window. Because remember, if you're not first, you're last. However, it was simply not enough. Around 130R one last time, and through the chicane one final time, it is going to be P2 across the line. And I don't think a post-race penalty is going to change the outcome of the race. Because the incident on lap 3 involving the Williams and the Aston Martin driver was mainly the Williams driver's fault. He lost the car under braking and pushed both cars wide. Still, I'm pretty happy of the way I managed the race, and I'm pretty proud of the result. It is going to narrow the gap in the championship a little bit, but I'm still confident that I can win this one. If you enjoyed this league racing video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on my next race. With only 2 races to go, who is going to become PSGL F7 champion? Stay tuned. This is Formula Kai signing off, and I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.